Welcome to another tutorial video. This is a little bit different because normally I'm coming from a background of creating with Rec Room. Rec Room is now gone, and that's why I want to show you guys how you can create your own VRChat worlds and how to upload them in a very easy way on the Quest. You will need a PC to actually do some things in Unity and to upload the builds that you did, but the building process itself you can do fully on Standalone Quest in VR, and this tutorial will show you how to do this step by step. There will be chapters, so you can go through the chapters if you already know how to set up Unity or how to set up the VRChat creator companion. I will explain this again, but you can skip these chapters if you've already seen my, for example, my Rec Room build video, how you can get Rec Room builds into VRChat. Yeah, that's it for now, and let's go. Alright, in order to create your first landscape, and I will do this very simple, so you will be able to do way more than that. This is just for the sake that this video doesn't take too long. I'm using an app called Gravity Sketch. So you can find this in the store. It's called Gravity Sketch. I think you can use it without signing in, but I will show you how to use the web browser as well if you have an account there, to download your files and get them into Unity. Let's go ahead, we started, and we are going into Gravity Sketch. It's actually loading up pretty fast. There's probably other apps as well where you can do this, but I found Gravity Sketch to be one of the most streamlined and where you can actually do a lot more than I will show you now. So it's a real 3D designer program actually, and there you have the chance to export stuff. That's a cool thing. So we're going to a new room. Taking a second to create a new room. So here we go. We are in our new room. What you have to know about this, you can move around very freely. But this might change accesses on your project. So what I want to do first, I have my two controllers here. If you want to go deeper into the Gravity Sketch, there's also tutorials for Gravity Sketch. Not done by me, but they're online. So what I want to do first, I'm going to my palette over here. It's this button over there. And then I'm going to start with a plane. And just press the two triggers here, create a plane. This is important because this is where we will build our stuff on, and you can see if I'm pressing this button, I can move things around, so it's shaking a little bit, so it's not straight anymore. But since we put the plane now on straight, this will be our straight bottom, so to say. And then what I want to like to use, since it's the most easy one, you can of course add cylinders, groups, everything. You can paint here with this paint options, and you can also do way more in Gravity Sketch, like transforming a cube into some into a figure, for example, with some tools. But this is way more complicated. We will do it as simple as possible, and this is what I found very simple and very easy to handle, is the thing down here. It's called volume. So you take this, then you can also maybe let's do this. You can change the color here if you want to. So let's say I want to have grass. So I'm taking a green color here. And then you see the color changing. So this would be a good idea to do this when you start. And then you can also change the size here of the ball. however you want it. I want to have a landscape right now around the corners here, so I will take a bigger, relatively big ball here. And you can change this with the trigger, you see, this one. Okay, so that's cool. And then you basically paint. It's really like, can get a feeling for it. You can have different. I will make some hills around the edge, but you basically just hold the trigger and then it kind of paints along the sides. That like a ball and making some edges. And you can, by holding down these triggers down here, can turn around your landscape as well. So I will be doing this quickly now, having some outside hills here. So this would be my outside hills, and then what I want to do is do a tree as well, really quickly. So I basically keep this system here, make it a little bit smaller, and just go over here, change the color to something black, brownish. And I can just do the same again here. Paint the trunk. And of course you can change the size, like I can make very small things coming out here now. Maybe I will use this very small thing for the leaves, so change color to the leaves to kind of dark green. And you can do way more. You can change types here. You have and you choose the basic one, but you can also have like reflective material, tool material, flat, clay, gloss, so it's different. And even drop a texture image if you want to. So you have a lot of different settings here, but I will keep with painting now, just like that. And now we have some leaves here. So this is very, very basic, very simple. As you see, it's not high tech, it's fast. So that's why I wanted to show you how quick you can actually create something here. So I'm just in for like not even 5 minutes, and I'm in here for like maybe 3 minutes. I already have kind of a scene with a little tree here. Okay, this tree is a little bit in the air as I see, but you can move things around with these tools here. You have a selection tool here. You can just cross over the tree, turn it, and I don't know. That was not good. So make sure you don't touch the this thing down here, because you don't want to move this. This should be straight. You can, come on, get down. Okay, let's mark it again. Oop. Okay, I think you can move it down with this. Then want to be it to be in the ground. And if you want to change colors afterwards, there's also an option on this side on the controller. You can press A, and then you have a color and material picker. And then I could, after I already put the things, for example, have the ground be not gray but some kind of yellow here, and then I just I don't want to do that. Then I just tap it, boom, and I can change things. Afterwards I can have maybe also a hill that is more gray. Let's say this is gray. I shouldn't have this selected. Okay, you have to watch what you have selected, because it will always first do the selection. But yeah, let's do this. Put this to gray. And then we have our little scene. I think that's already enough. You see what you can do. Of course, you can also paint stuff in here. Let's see what other options we have. I will not go through all of them. So we have the normal ink, that would be more for painters, let's say. You can choose the color here. Then you just freely paint around. There's also a good option for trees or something like that. That would be the option for painters if you want to have this in the space. Then you of course have options for just lines or some. I wouldn't use these ones, these are sheets. Of course you can also just place objects, or you just even have the option to add text, which is pretty cool. And it takes it over to VRChat as well. So if I add a text, say, let's say I do see me one key. But you of course can also use VRChat itself to put the text in, which should be, not VRChat itself, Unity, to actually put the text in afterwards, which should make your room smaller. So if you have a lot of text, you might want to consider to put it in afterwards, because this will be rendered as objects. Yeah, that's the first part. Next part, we will see on Windows. Let's do one thing more that you can do from Quest here. You can go to this options menu, and then you have an export function. And here you can actually export your file as an object. And this is a good thing, it should land on your Quest if you do this. You have some settings here as well, but let's just keep everything as it is. And then basically yeah. So that's how you have it on your Quest. So you can also use, I think it's on the Quest, let's see. Uploading. No, it's not on the Quest. So we will have to go to their website to actually do this. Or with SideQuest, it could be on the Quest, but I think it's just online. So you have to download it from their site. So you need an account, a free account in Gravity Sketch. So that's the first part. That's everything you can do on the Quest. And next part will show you how you get your files and how you can set up Unity for actually uploading stuff to VRChat. Okay, that is the second part. We are inside Gravity Sketch here, or not inside Gravity Sketch, but we are on the Gravity Sketch website. You basically need to create an account, link it on your Quest. I will not go step by step how you can do this, but it's pretty easy. Then sign in to their website, gravitysketch.com, and then log in. And then eventually you should come to this system that you are seeing here. So we have our projects here that we see. We already see our objects that I have exported before. And we have our scenes here. So if you don't have these objects here already, you can also just click your scene with your right mouse click and go to the export option. And then you have different options to export. I would leave everything as it is. This is the most easy way to do it. And then you can don't download this from here. This is the project file. Download your object files here. Left click, download, and it takes a minute and it downloads it to your folder. Just unpack everything, and then when you unpack everything here, see what you should have is these two files. Actually, you don't need the MLT file. This file object should be enough for you to get it into your system easily. So that's the part of Gravity Sketch. Next part, I will show you how you can set up your VRChat system. Basically how you can set up VRChat, Unity, everything. And if you want to skip this because you already have it set up and already know how this works, then just skip the next part. And after this I will continue to show you how you can put these things into your VRChat Unity project. Let's go ahead and see how we will install Unity Creator Companion and what else we will need for that. So you can find this on the VRChat website. It's called Creator Companion. And then you can basically here on the website just download it. And here we go, it's downloading. And then open it and install it. I will not show you how this works now, but you install it. And then it will also help you to download the right Unity version and create your projects. You can create avatar projects, you can create world projects, and you can create some legacy older Unity versions projects as well. And go ahead, let it help you, and then you should have something like this here. It's now, this is in Unity now directly, but this will also show up in your Creator Companion. Okay, let's find this version. I think it will lead you to the website of this version. If it doesn't lead you, just remember this exact number, and I will put the link as well. You have a Unity older versions download archive here, and we are going to 2023, and then just look for the exact number, which is 2022, even 2022 3 2022 F1. So we will go to the 2022 folder, and there we will find the right version. It will probably be it's marked as security issues. Don't worry too much about that. So this is the version, and here you can basically download it for different operating systems, such as Mac OS, Linux, Windows. Yeah, there it is. I will put the direct link to this file into the show notes, as I told you. So yeah, but this I think this should also, yeah, you have to install Unity, you have to sign up to Unity, that's important, otherwise it will not work. And you have to install the Unity Hub here. See if it's downloading directly here. Yeah, you can download it from this website, and then it should install, or you can also install it directly if you have the Unity Hub installed. Ah yeah, here it is. Yeah, if you click this, it should directly install to your Unity Hub, which should be downloaded by the Creator Companion. If it's not downloaded, then you would have to get it here on their website, unity.com, sign in and install it. Okay, and then we need another thing, otherwise we will not be able to import our exports from Rec Room, our GLB files, and this is called GLT Fast. So you basically go to their GitHub website, and then click here on code, and then download zip. And basically what we want to do now, go ahead and create a world in your Creator Companion. I don't have the Creator Companion here now because it's I'm working on a Mac and this is only for Windows. And then this will be how it looks like, and you basically just unpack the GLT fast from the zip file and just put it inside your world packages, and then just put the whole folder in. That should give you the assets that are needed to actually open the GLT file. Okay. And what we need to do next is open our world. And it will open Unity. Takes a little bit, but it will download a little bit more assets. So you need around 3 GB for this one file, or 2, something like that, between 2 and 3. And it will download some more assets now from the web, basically. So it might take a while. What you want to do first here, or probably you don't need to do that because it will come up automatically. I will go to File and make a new scene here in Unity. And then you can go to VRChat, default world scene, create it. And this creates you an empty scene here. So you can move around with your mouse. And here you see the normal button, and that's just an empty scene. Then the easy way to get these things into your project. I already have some things here in my project, so don't be confused. Let's maybe make a new folder here. Okay. And I will call the new folder test project. So I will put everything we need into this folder because I already have some stuff here from an old project, like extra skyboxes and stuff that you can get from the Unity store. But for the simplicity of this, I will just go into how you can get your own build in now. Maybe a little bit more how you can add some Sketchfab things later. Okay, let's find your file that you just downloaded. So what you want to do is, instead of dragging just the object itself, try dragging the whole folder inside your project. Double click it, and then it should also take the colors over from the material. Okay, good to know. So the whole folder has to be inside both files in one folder, and then if you drag it over, it should also take the colors over with it. In order to turn it around, I don't know why it's always upside down. That's just how it is. You can use this option here, turn it, pick the red one in this case, turn it a little bit, and then you can see on your inspector side which one changes. Try to really grab one of these edges, not the yellow one or not the white one, but really the red one, and then you can see the X value is changing to -48. And in order to have it straight again, you just type in 90, and this should make it real straight again. And so you have it as you had it in your Unity file. Here it is. So what I like to do always, move it a little bit, zoom out a little bit, move it a little bit closer to the central. This is not very important, but this can help, as you might wanna you probably don't need to do this, but I always need to do this. I sometimes need to reset my view here because I cannot use the WASD movement. So I have to move around with my mouse just. So now we have our scene here. If you want to, you can also get some files from Sketchfab, for example. Let me show you an example here. I got one of my rec room builds here, first century building as GLB file, and basically you can simply What's that? Simply okay. So I have some old buildings here, and you can basically simply drag and drop it first into your library here, and then just drop it into your scene. It is, and you can move it around as you wish. This is probably really small. There it is. So if you find things on Sketchfab, be careful with Sketchfab objects. They might have a lot of they might be very big and might break your VRChat, especially on Quest. And there is also rules. Most of the objects you cannot use. You might want to filter through things that are actually free to use. But what I want to do here now is, most important thing here is to set the VRChat world file, this one, and move it up. Go around a little bit. Move it up so it is. It can be over the scene. That's okay. As close to the ground as possible, of course, but it needs to be over the scene. Otherwise, people will fall through it, spawning in. And then the last thing you want to do here is to actually select your plane here and add component box collider for this one, for the ground, and for all of these here. You can mass select them. Everything that's basically a collider you should select, even the house here, yeah. And then go to add component and add a so-called mesh collider. So this should already be the things you need to do to put it into VRChat. We will test the scene in a bit, but basically you go to your VRChat show control panel scene here, and then you can enter a name. We call it test project new. Capture the scene image or upload your own, and then you basically just build and publish. Then we will do that and we will test it, and then we will do some changes as well and some things that you need to add. But the best is to first build and publish it to your I always do it only on Android because I want to test it with my Quest Standalone directly. But if you want to do it in all the 4 formats that are here, feel free. I would suggest you to only do the multi things after everything works on your Quest, and then you can also add the Windows and iOS versions. But yeah, so we do it. Boop. Copyright, yeah, I did it myself, so copyright is accepted. So I will upload this now, and then I see you in VRChat. Don't forget to save your scene. Test, of course, so it's safe. Okay, and then we will test it. Always do the testing before you add more things. We are inside VRChat now, in our home environment. In order to actually go to your room, you want to go to Worlds, and then go to My Worlds, and you have the upload, is the first one. And then we already see our test project new here, and we can simply enter from here. Alright, we are inside our world. Of course it's not very complex, but you see I can move around. If I'm going too close to the border here, it stops me. Here's my little tree that I built. That's what I painted. What you of course want to do here now is to just test if it's working, if it's running well. And then we will see what we can tweak to make it actually, it's performing pretty well, but we can do some things to make it perform even better and to feel more realistic, so to say. Not more realistic, maybe. It will look more realistic on PC for sure, because there's shadows and stuff. But one thing you are not seeing now, because you're just seeing it on a flat screen, is we have to adjust probably the size of the world a little bit. As the tree, for example, it's a little bit too big for me. It's okay, I would leave it like this, but we can make it smaller and bigger. That's what we want to do in Unity. Just this is the first thing you need to do. Just test it once, see how things are. Because if you want to add more things and then do more stuff in Unity, then it's good to have a feeling for the size. So I feel it's a little bit too big. I will make it a little bit smaller in Unity, I think, and add some things that make it run better and feel more realistic. So that's what we want to do in Unity now. So we are back at our Unity project here. Test was good. So, but now we want to tweak some things. First thing we want to tweak is actually to make these two things, maybe not this one, maybe just our main scene, more editable. And this is, you go to the right click, go to prefab and go to unpack completely. This makes it more easier to actually work with it. You can move things easier around. You can, for example, if I want to move the tree, I can mark it now with my mark tool here, which wouldn't have been possible before unpacking everything. So I can move the tree around by itself now if I select everything. But what I want to do first, I said it was a little bit too big for me. So what I will do here, I will go to the scale tool and trim it down a little bit in each direction. Just a little. Yeah, select everything, trim it down a little bit. I want to move it down again so that the house stays in here. And for example, the house was a little bit too small, so I can do the same with this. Just use the scale tool here. See if I can press shift. Move it up a little bit, make it bigger a little bit, and then, yeah. So that's how you can edit things here. In order to make it run faster, there's a little trick. This was running really fast, so it wouldn't have been a problem in this little scene. But the more you put in, the more complicated it gets and the more slow and stuttery it runs on VRChat. But in order to actually prevent it from running too stuttery, you can just select your whole folder here. Maybe even both. Just select everything that's here. And then you have a thing here that's called static. Just put a check mark in here and then do everything to the children as well. And that should make it run really faster, because then it kind of renders all the things that have the same material as kind of one object instead of all these little objects. Of course, we don't have a lot of objects. It was running fine for now. Yeah, that's what you can do. Then if you downloaded some other backgrounds, there's in the standard thing, there's only this one background skybox. But in the Unity store, there are some free skyboxes or paid skyboxes that you can add to your assets here. I added some of the free ones, and you can try things like changing the skybox here in lighting. This is now here for me, but you can find it in your Windows settings, general. No, it's not in general. Rendering, lighting. and then go to environment, and then you can change skyboxes. For example, I have some free skyboxes here. I can just take these from here, and if I want to say I want to have these clouds, I just drag and drop the new skybox in here. And then you can already see in the scene, I have my new skybox on my scene. Another important thing that you probably want to do is finding some background noises. I always use Pixabay for that. And you have sound effects here, and then you can look for some, for example, nature, ambience, something like that. And you can find some sounds here, birds for example, and things like that. Download them as MP3, just drag and drop them into your project. Then in order to actually add an ambience to the whole scene, you can also have spatial ambiences that change, but that's a little bit more complicated. But if you want to have an ambience for the whole scene, it makes it way more realistic. If there's no sound, it feels like something is missing. So you can just add an audio source here. And then in the audio clip, you will find all your MP3s that you imported. And for example, I can choose now forest. And it's there. Loop it, so it's looping. Set your spatial plan to 2D. And probably turn down the volume. Yeah, of course. Now you can see what is happening because this thing is in the way. Yeah, set down your volume to very low. So you will want to test it, but I normally put it down to 1.00 something. 0.10, something between 0.1 and 0.5. So it's just a little bit sound in the background that is not very noticeable or not annoying, but it adds to the atmosphere. So if there's no sound, it feels very empty and very stale. But if you add just these little noises in the background, it will feel more alive. Yeah. And then you kind of upload it again, test it again, and this is how you create your first world with Gravity Sketch and Unity for VRChat. Thank you guys for watching this video. As always, please like and subscribe to see more that's coming up on this channel. I'm not sure what I'm doing next, but yeah, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you in some other tutorial video. Bye bye!